Erik, your first thoughts on something that's a little bit further into this letter. Jon Rubinstein is leaving.
Yeah, to your point, a lot of big news coming out of Bridgewater in the statement from Ray Dalio. And I would lead with Jon Rubinstein leaving as the co-chief executive officer. Jon Rubinstein was an unusual hire less than a year ago for Bridgewater. You may remember he was a key lieutenant of Steve Jobs at Apple. He helped to design the iMac and the iPod. He left Apple years ago, joined Bridgewater last year. In this role, Ray Dalio described as both leadership and technology. Given his background at Apple, Ray Dalio was relying on Jon Rubinstein to help redesign a new technology architecture for Bridgewater. And today, Ray Dalio says Jon Rubinstein did, in fact, do that.
Yes, he gives him a lot of credit. Now, the cutting point is that he says he's not a cultural fit.
By mutual agreement, not a cultural fit.
What does that mean?
Well, we all know Bridgewater is an unusual place. Some people might describe it as an odd place. You've heard Ray Dalio talk to me and many other people about radical transparency. That's what makes Bridgewater so unusual. Everything is out in the open. Dalio thought Jon Rubinstein would be a good fit because he worked with Steve Jobs in an environment that celebrated disagreement and at times friction. That's what goes on inside Bridgewater. That's why he thought Jon Rubinstein would work out well there. Jon Rubinstein did not, and his exit, Vonnie, is precipitating a number of other important changes at Bridgewater. Number one, Ray Dalio is getting out of Bridgewater management by April the 15th, and David McCormick, who's been at the firm for 8 years, former Treasury Undersecretary, you may remember, under George W. Bush, is being elevated to co-CEO with Eileen Murray, formerly of Morgan Stanley, also who has a deep background in technology. These are big changes at Bridgewater, the world's largest hedge fund manager.
Erik, what's the significance of that McCormick co-CEO with Murray? Those two as a team, do we know much?
Do we know much about them? Well, we know that Eileen Murray has been effectively running a good part of the firm already. Her skill appears to be in administration management and oversight of the technology operations. David McCormick, by virtue of his experience in the public sector, in government, Mark, is a little bit more of an external-facing person. Bridgewater needs both of those kinds of people in managerial roles because Ray Dalio and Bob Prince and Greg Jensen, another former co-CEO, are running the day-to-day investments. And one other thing I would point to, Mark, out of this memo from Ray Dalio is that he has put the world on notice that he's going to be carried out of the Bridgewater offices boots first someday. He says, quote, "I'm excited about this change and expect to remain a professional investor at Bridgewater until I die."
Or until those running Bridgewater don't want me anymore. What's the prospect of that?
Unlikely.
Unlikely.
Many questions have been raised over the years about Ray Dalio's willingness to let go. Clearly, he has come to terms with the idea that he shouldn't be running the firm any longer. In fact, he came to terms with that idea a while ago, which is why he put Greg Jensen in the co-CEO's role in the first place. But somehow that devolved into what we perceived on the outside to be a power struggle. That's why Jensen was ousted as co-CEO, put back in the co-CIO's role. It's been a bit of a revolving door for the past year at Bridgewater. We'll see, because it's hard to know whether this structure is going to stand the test of time.
All right, he says, most importantly, David, Eileen and the people who support them have a proven understanding of Bridgewater and its unique culture, and they treasure these things.